Alright guys, today I'll be giving you my top 25 coasters that I have ridden as of 2023. Now, I've ridden 285 coasters, and I don't know, I see why a lot of people can, have a really hard time with this now, because, I don't know, something about coming up with a list of your 25 favorite coasters, it's really challenging. Before we start, I gotta mention Comet at Hershey Park. I mean, for this list, I really wanted to think about which rides I just want to ride more. And Comet, it's a personal favorite of mine. I really love it, but I just couldn't find a spot for it on the list. I really couldn't. I love it, but not enough to make the list. So starting off the list at number 25 is Orion at Kings Island. I didn't think I wanted to put this ride on the list originally, but the more I thought about it, Orion has some really good moments. Especially that one weird wave turn towards the end that kind of gives you a weird sideways ejector pop. Not RMC level, but definitely a solid airtime moment. And this ride, it's a B&M Giga. It's nothing crazy. It's graceful. It's butter smooth. It's got great floater airtime. I mean, great sense of speed. The speed hill is amazing. It's really a full package for a great GP pleasing ride, and it definitely makes number 25 for me. 24 is Alpengeist at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This is definitely my favorite B&M invert. It's got some actually stupid positive Gs, especially on the Cobra roll. Yeah, crazy positive Gs and laterals on that Cobra roll. It's really something special. One of my favorite inversions. And then you've got a really amazing first half. The second half, it kind of dies a little, but it's not awful. You still get some fun hang time, a little bit of whip on the corkscrew, and great theming. Overall, just a really fun ride. 23 is Storm Runner at Hershey Park. This used to be my favorite Intamin accelerator until something else, which we're going to get to later on. But yeah, overall, it's a really fun ride. Great layout. It's a complete layout, which is different from the others that I've been on. And it's got a really good launch still. It's not the greatest of all time, but it's a solid launch. You get fun ejector airtime, especially if you're in the front going into the flying snake dive. You've got that amazing inversion. Overall, it's a fun ride. It really is. Number 22 is Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure. This is my personal favorite B&M Hyper. It is the best in my opinion, and it's not really close. You've got a pretty fun first half. I actually really like kind of the hill that twists to the left before the helix. That really sends you flying to the right for some reason. And then that helix packs in the positives. But what really does Nitro for me is the second half. You've got 4 incredible borderline ejector airtime moments, which is really rare for a Hyper, a B&M one at least. And I mean, the ops are phenomenal. It's got the phenomenal soundtrack in the station. I mean, what's not to love? This is definitely my favorite B&M Hyper. At number 21 is Boulder Dash at Lake Compounce. I had this way higher last year, and I didn't even re-ride it this year, so it didn't really have an opportunity to fall down. I just realized, it's not top 10 worthy. It definitely isn't. It's still an amazing ride. It's still my number 21. You've got an incredible setting, some fun floater airtime, good laterals, overall great woody, but yeah, not quite as high as I had it last year, that's for sure. Number 20 is Thunderhead at Dollywood. This is a super aggressive wooden coaster. It's way better than Mystic Timbers in my opinion. You've got crazy ejector pops all over the place, in places you really wouldn't expect them, they come out of nowhere. You've got good laterals, overall fast-paced ride. It's very smooth. Not too smooth where it doesn't feel like a woody, but it's definitely pretty smooth. So overall, it's just a phenomenal ride, Thunderhead. Number 19 is Copperhead Strike at Carowinds. This is a really amazing, well-rounded ride. It's not the craziest mock multi-launch out there, but that being said, it's still an amazing ride. Good ejector airtime, mixed with some weaker floater. Amazing hang time, one of the best coasters in the world for hang time, really. Great trains, amazing theming, actually. Definitely best themed Cedar Fair coaster. The launches are definitely weak, I'll admit that. They're definitely not the punchiest things, but overall, it's still an amazing ride that definitely needs to be talked about more. Number 18 is Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England. This is another one I realized definitely shouldn't be quite as high as I put it last year. It's still a great ride, though, obviously. The trains aren't the greatest, but they're doable. You've got some amazing ejector airtime, especially on the fourth hill, but a lot of it is floater, especially in the second half. It's a it's a great layout. It really is, especially with the setting right next to the Connecticut River, but it's definitely got some flaws and some pacing issues, which I hear back in the day it didn't really have, but now it definitely does. So overall, it's a great ride. It definitely could run a little faster, though, I feel like. Number 17 is X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This is one that should really be way higher. It's extremely intense. It's got one of the best first drops. It's just pure chaos the whole time. But there's a couple things holding it back. One is it's actually not chaos the whole time. There's definitely some dead spots that you're just sitting there wondering, am I on a mine train? Like, really, it's that bad. And then two, it's very rough, especially on the outside seats. It's not unbearable, but it's definitely not ideal. It's definitely very rough. You probably have to tap out after a few rides unless you're crazy. I mean, I do that nowadays, but back then when I rode it in 2019, my tolerance wasn't as high. So maybe with the re-ride, I'll put it a bit higher, or I can just go to Japan or China and ride Ejinike or Dino Conda. That would be better. But anyways, it's still a great ride, still 17 for me. Number 16 is The Beast at Kings Island. This is truly a special ride. I mean, it's The Beast. Everyone knows this thing. It's so legendary. The night rides especially are just truly magical. This is the Disney magic right here, the Beast night rides. But even without them, it's a crazy journey through the woods. You get some extremely underrated laterals, in my opinion. Like, the layout itself is pretty underrated. Like, even though it's not crazy or anything, it's a solid layout. And combine that with the special setting, the extreme ride length, and just how legendary it is, it definitely deserves the number 16 spot, in my opinion. Now, number 15. Yeah, this is Fury 325 at Carowinds. Here we go. Let the comment section start coming in now. Like, I don't know. Fury just doesn't do it for me like it does for some others. Number 1 in Golden Ticket Awards, I don't know. I don't understand it. It happens, so I mean, it is number 1, but at the same time, no. It's got an okay first drop. I mean, I say it's okay, but it's still like top 10 first drops for me. It lasts forever, but it's not super aggressive. And that's basically the theme for the rest of the ride. It's not aggressive at all. It's a really tame, graceful ride, which is crazy to think that I'm calling a 325 foot tall coaster tame, but really that's the best way to describe it. Is it's graceful, it's smooth, it's really fast, which is what makes it this good. But yeah, it really doesn't even have ejector at any points. I think Nitro has the strongest airtime out of all the B&Ms, which is crazy, but this still gets the edge for how fast it feels. And overall, it's still an amazing ride, just not even close to as good as some people say. Number 14 is Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This is definitely one of the weaker RMCs. Not the weakest, that's Jersey Devil, which didn't make the list. But this is the weakest iBox I've done. It's got a fun dueling aspect, which I actually think I might have gotten it all 3 times, at least a partial duel. But still, it's definitely weaker without the duel. And the layout overall, it's fun. You get some great ejector, good laterals, hang time, everything you would expect from an RMC, but definitely weaker than some other RMCs. Like number 13, Twisted Timbers at King's Dominion. I had this, again, a lot higher last year. I don't really know what I was thinking, but yeah, it's still a really fun ride. Still number 13 out of 285 coasters. This also has great ejector airtime, solid inversions. You got the barrel roll down drop, which is fun. Not as good as a normal first drop, but still fun. A weird locker system that sometimes doesn't work, which is annoying, and pretty slow ops, but overall it's still really fun RMC. Number 12 is Wicked Cyclone at Six Flags New England. I used to think this was weaker than Timbers, but I realized it's definitely a really fun ride and probably the best of the smaller scale RMCs. It's got phenomenal ejector airtime in the first half. The second half, it kind of dies, but honestly, the best elements, like in the beginning of the second half with this weird outer bank after the 1 week turnaround, and that's the big problem. It's got weird pacing, but you know what? The strong elements it has, like the 0G stall and those outer banks, are really phenomenal. 11 is Cyclone at Luna Park. Yeah, this is the Coney Island Cyclone, and it's still one of the best coasters, period. It's so bad, yet it's incredible. It's downright scary at sometimes, especially the first turn after the first drop in the front row. Just absolutely sends you folding over. It's some of the scariest laterals ever. You get some amazing ejector airtime, especially in the back with those buzz bars. They're not buzz bars, but you know what I mean. It's kind of rough, but it's not too rough. You know, it's that perfect middle ground. Overall, yeah, Cyclone's still an amazing ride all these years later. Now we've made it to the top 10, and this is really where I started to struggle. I mean, I used to have a lot of different opinions than I do now, like even just a week ago. And like I really thought about which rides I genuinely like more, and this is what I came up with. So number 10 is Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. I used to really praise this thing. I've realized there's better coasters out there. There really are. And it's still incredible. It's still top 10. It's super well-rounded, especially with the backwards section. That's the best moment of the ride for sure, the backwards ejector. The rest of it, you know, it's really fun. It's a really fun layout, especially if you get some room. You got that great stall that gives great hang time. You know, you've got the top hat, a bunch of other okay ejector moments, but none of it's too crazy, I feel like. None of it's knock your socks off, balls to the wall intense, which is really what I want. So number 10 seemed like an appropriate spot. Number 9, another one that I've been praising a lot this year, Sky Rush at Hershey Park. This is about where it landed last year. I rode it back in April, and it shot up to my number 3 spot, and it's kind of slowly fallen down from there. Mainly, I feel like because of another ride that opened in the same park, but also because I've realized there's better rides out there too. The drop's still incredible, still my second favorite drop. After that, I realized the airtime, you know, it's pretty overrated besides the drop. The first 2 camelbacks are pretty okay. Like, they're ejector, but they're not, oh my god, this is the wildest thing ever. Oh my god, this is Steel Vengeance as an Intamin, like, even though Steel Vengeance isn't quite the strongest. Like, you know, it's amazing, but the laterals are, like, really world-class, and everything else, it's great, but it's not top tier, I feel like. So that's why Skyrush is down to 9. However, jumping up a lot is number 8, King Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure. Now, at the time of recording this, I went to Great Adventure 2 days ago. So I got 13 rides on King Ka 2 days ago, and I've got a pretty biased opinion towards this thing, because the first 10 were in boost mode. That was nuts. Boost mode is something special. It really is. The launch is, there's no way to describe how intense that launch is. It just rips your face off. The gut punch is truly undescribable. It's incredible. You've got the top hat, which gives great airtime, actually, especially in boost mode, and you just float over the entire thing. And I think the most underrated part is the pull-up into the top hat. That is honestly the most intense moment of any coaster, like positive G's wise. The pull-up into the top hat, it's not as sustained as another first turn we're going to get to soon, but it's intense. And then that hill at the end is really good too, like great floater throughout the whole thing. And to top it all off, I got a rollback at night this past visit. I definitely didn't expect it, but you know what? That was crazy. It really just feels like you're falling backwards 400 feet down, which is actually insane. So, yeah, I'm pretty biased towards this thing because of the rollback and boost mode and everything, but overall, it's still a phenomenal ride. I love it. It's number 8. I don't care what all of you think. Dragster wasn't even as good as this. It really wasn't close in my opinion, honestly. Yeah, King Ka is so good. All you'll need to respect it more, honestly. Now, number 7 is Maverick, another one that I decided to move up a bit more. I've kind of been talking it down, but it definitely deserves better. It's such a well-rounded ride, and I think it's definitely a bit more intense than Pantheon the more I thought about it, especially in the second half. Those Stangle dives are wild. Honestly, maybe on par with Sky Rushes, maybe not quite as good, but overall, the ejector airtime, especially on the first drop, you've got a great launch. You've got all sorts of great transitions, fun inversions. It really is the full package. And yes, it's not the most intense. It's an incredible ride still. At number 6 is Phoenix at Knobles. Just an absolute underrated gem, I feel like, with everyone that's not like a Golden Ticket Award voter, because most people I feel like talk down on this thing, say it's overhyped. Like, nah, this is incredible. It's the real deal. You've got those buzz bars, which you get like a foot of room with those. And then you've got some crazy ejector airtime, especially in the second half, especially on the double down. That is such a violent pop of airtime. Oh my god. It's also got some decent laterals too, like on the turnarounds. Those are pretty fun actually, especially since you just get flown to the other side of the train, because it's pretty freeing even without the buzz bars. Like it's a pretty freeing train, I feel like. So overall, Phoenix, yeah, some of the greatest airtime ever with buzz bars. Yeah, it's a deadly combination that more people should talk about for sure. Now we've made it to the top 5, and I don't even know how to describe my experience trying to figure out what I want in my top 5. Like, not even that, like the order of the top 5 mainly. And I don't know. I came up with this order. It might change. I feel like number 1 might stay the same, like even throughout next year, just because of something very specific that I'll go over when I get to it. But yeah, it's still like extremely tough to decide. So yeah, this was incredibly tough, but number 5 is Lightning Rod at Dollywood. I really do want to put this so much higher. It's a real shame what they're doing to this thing, putting a lift hill on it. I mean, I think it's gonna significantly like not improve the ride, like make it a lot worse, honestly. Yes, it'll be more reliable, but I don't know. I made a whole video on that if you want to listen to that, but I'll go over my experience on it. It was nuts. You start off with that launch and you just gun it up. It's honestly a top 5 launch because you have to overcome gravity too. And then that drop is amazing. The wave turns and the twist and shouts are all phenomenal. You've got the quad down, obviously. That is one of the most nuts moments of any coaster, like, period. Overall, like, especially with the setting and at night, oh my god, that's an amazing night ride. And yeah, I just want to put it higher, but there's 4 coasters that are just better. One of them being Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. This used to be my number 1 back in 2021, and I don't know, in a way it kind of is. It's so long. You're never going to get this much airtime on one single ride, but that being said, it's not the strongest airtime in the world. There's definitely stronger, more intense coasters out there, but that doesn't even matter that much because of just how much airtime you get. It's nonstop for like a minute, 20 seconds, basically. It's truly remarkable what Cedar Point did with this structure, making it this good. I mean, one of the best first drops in the world. a bunch of other great airtime moments. I mean, there's not one real standout moment, I feel like. It's just, it all blends together so well and creates one amazing product. But again, it's not the strongest, which is why there's 3 other coasters higher than it. Number 3. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm about to do this. Wildcats Revenge at Hershey Park. I mean, I've basically been praising this thing as the best for 2 months. And yeah, I don't know. I have to put it back to 3. I really do. Like, it's still phenomenal. Still some of the strongest airtime you'll ever experience. Amazing inversions. It doesn't really have the positive G's. Like, I was remembering that one turn having great G's in August, and I didn't really get that in October. It's got a great lighting package, phenomenal ops. I like the trains on RMCs. So overall, it's a near perfect ride. That being said, there are 2 coasters that are just so absurd that they have to take the top 2 spots. So coming in at the number 2 spot is Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion. I also didn't think last year I'd be bumping this down to number 2, but here I am. This is still one of the most remarkable rides ever. Definitely the best coaster I've been on for positive G's and laterals, and I find it hard to believe that there's any coaster on the planet that's better for positive G's and laterals than this thing. The way this thing just whips you around, especially in those triple snaps, is truly unbelievable. It's absolutely absurd what this ride will do to you. There's a reason there's over the shoulder restraints on this thing. I can't even talk now because I've been talking for 22 minutes basically here, but I'm going to get through it. We got great airtime, some floater, but definitely some ejector, especially on that sustained hill. That's one of the most underrated airtime moments for me. The drop is honestly the best on any Giga in my opinion because of how strong it is compared to the others. And yeah, the sense of speed is truly incredible, just whipping around like that low to the ground at that high of speeds. I mean, it could be my number 1 if it weren't for one unique experience I had on my number 1 coaster, El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure. If you would have told me that El Toro was going to somehow jump up to my number 1 spot by the end of the year, especially after my rides in July, I don't even know what I would have done. Like, I don't even know. But here we are. El Toro is my number 1. Why? Well, I'll tell you why in a minute, but let's get the normal experience out of the way. You've got the strongest, most sustained airtime on any coaster on those first 2 camelbacks. There's no airtime stronger than it. There really isn't much airtime more sustained than it. You combine like that strong of airtime and you make it last for like 3 seconds and combine it with all the other things on the ride. I mean, it's truly incredible. The Rolling Thunder Hill as well is one of the strongest moments ever. The first drop is my favorite first drop ever. Just, you get absolutely yonked over that, as Chris from Airtime Thrills would say. Yeah, it is rough. I'll admit that. It was a lot rougher in July, I feel like, which is probably why I liked it more now, because between the rain absorbing like a lot of the roughness, I guess, and the rain actually making it a bit more slick, I feel like, which might have made it run faster. Yeah, El Toro was just absolutely phenomenal during the day. Then at night, it gets even better. You can't see a thing. However, I'm going to share with you what pushed it over the edge and made it my number 1. So basically, it malfunctioned, not seriously. Like, no one was in danger, but it had a normal fault. But what this fault did, so as most of you probably know, it operated with the cable lift going full speed over the top back in 2006. Some sort of fault made it do that. That was the most absurd thing ever. I can't even explain to you how strong the airtime was. Yeah, now I really wish it would just go full speed over the lift hill every time, because that experience is truly something special. I don't know if there's any other coaster in the world that can match that experience. But yeah, I know not everyone will get that, but yeah, it was truly something special. But even without that, it still would be extremely high, maybe even number one. With that, it's definitely number one for me. And I know it's number one for a lot of other people too, just for how crazy it is. So that's my top 25 coasters as of 2023. There's a lot of weird opinions on here, I know, but yeah, that's my list. I love all these coasters. I love El Toro more than all of them, obviously, but they're all great. Let me know what you guys thought of this list down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.